Hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, whatever reason you're here for. This is AI Insanity, and the purpose of this stream is to actually learn how to use AI and ChatGPT to build games and to actually learn how to build games using Unity. Um, I just want to say hello. If you're there, please give a sign. Just a moment. Please say hello, ask any questions if you want to discuss about anything specifically. I'm here to assist you in whatever you want to do. So the project that I have here is a brand new project. We are starting a brand new game today, and I have already prepared everything that we need. We have ChatGPT in one window, we have Unity in another window, and we want to build a tower defense. Don't ask why, how I got to that conclusion. Anyway, the idea when using AI is that we are basically able to take it through all the processes of the game, from doing market research to actually coming up with ideas and writing the document and eventually implementing the game. I'm not going to go through those initial steps. I just want to focus on building the game effectively in Unity for now. So what we actually do when we start developing a game, we are actually trying to figure out what we are trying to do and to build it step by step to actually come up with a simple idea, a core game mechanic that we are actually trying to implement. Let's try to just go crazy with ChatGPT and see how many use cases and what it is actually useful for. And let's try something. I am trying to build a game in Unity. Hello. I see someone is already on the chat. I want to make a tower defense. Okay, and very important when actually communicating with GPT and AI in general, it likes to have specific information. It likes to have a context that it can actually build from. This is why I try to give it as much detail as I can in order to get as much value and as many good information as I can. One of the most important things that I noticed is the version that I am using, and for this project I will be going with Unity 6.2 in URP. 6.2 might be a very important detail since things are changing quite rapidly, maybe lately. I am using Unity 6.2. Okay, I have no idea where to start. Let's put it like that. You're driving into a bold strategy. Let's discuss it. Painfully, a map, something that walks, something that shoots, a projectile that doesn't embarrass you, a health system, a wave spawner, and that's it. Well, let's try to do something simple, like, I don't know, what could be simple? What is the simplest part of this to build? Like, I'm just going to assume that I'm the simplest part. Okay, I'm just going to assume that I am not very experienced with Unity and game development in general, and I'm going to try to figure out how to use it in order to learn and in order to actually produce something that is playable, hopefully. I would like to play my game at one point. The simplest part. Nothing in your future will be simple. Okay, Thank you, GPT. Very helpful. Basic health scripts. I don't really like the health script because it's not going to do anything specifically in game. Let's try something that will show up like a tower that shoots. Can you do that? Okay. When I start with the thing you're most likely to break. Thank you. So it's giving me a script. Make your project. Okay. It's giving me a script, but if I'm actually not very familiar with Unity, this might just be... I'm not sure if it's giving me all the steps, so I will just try to make it go step by step, and we'll try to take the information that it gives me and ask it for more details to actually understand what is going on. So the first step, it says to make your tower, literally anything, a cube, a cylinder, misplaced eagle. Okay, it doesn't matter. Thank you, GPT. How do I make a new cylinder? In the hierarchy, I choose right click, 3D option, cylinder. I'm not sure it could actually generate pictures of a tutorial to actually show where in the engine I would go to do all those things. But if you're not familiar with the hierarchy of the Unity editor, again, you can go in depth and ask it for more information, like what are you talking about, what and where is the hierarchy. Here are, okay, I cannot spell this. Where are the letters? Okay, letters. Vertical list on the left side of the Unity editor. So yeah, basically it's pinpointing the hierarchy, and it's also giving me information on how to open the window if it's no longer there. And absolutely everything that you get stuck on, everything you do not understand, my recommendation is to just ask for more details. The purpose here is not just to generate a line of code and to copy paste it without having any idea what we're doing, but to actually understand where all those things are. The idea is that we actually want to use ChatGPT to enhance our knowledge and the way we understand things and what we are capable of building. This is why I'm going to go maybe like slower, a lot slower. Okay, so we have this option to choose to create a new cylinder. In the hierarchy, I'm doing a right click, I'm selecting a 3D object, I am selecting a cylinder, and I'm naming it tower. As soon as Unity finishes compiling, okay, and we have a tower. I don't think, let me check something. So it says here Unity will drop a perfectly mediocre cylinder into your scene at position 0, 0, 0. It's okay, but it's not really okay, because the cylinder that it dropped in my scene is not at position 0, 0, 0. Yeah, ChatGPT and AI in general might take the best case scenario when doing development. This is not always the case in real life, because what is happening here is just generating the position is not perfectly aligned with the center of the world. You might not be able to catch all the details that ChatGPT is missing. This might be an issue, but we can also do the following. What are some best practices and things we might have missed when creating this? And let's see how it actually. Oh, I'm getting options now. How wonderful. Okay, this is just more text for me to read. I don't want to read this much text. Add parents, gizmo orientation, don't leave it floating. Save your scene. Okay, this is like actually both of them like have different things. Zero the scale, reset its transform. Okay, it's actually making sense. I'm gonna go with response one for whatever reason. Just it seems a lot simpler. But yeah, it's going through a checklist of the things that I can actually do to make my life easier. And I like that it includes what we are talking about earlier, like resetting the transform, like making sure it's on position 000, and giving us all the information we need to understand and learn how to do that. So we have the position, and I usually just go 000 because I'm having problems always finding the reset for whatever reason. It's just faster to input all the numbers. I don't know, it's just me. And renaming the thing, I did that already. I named it tower. I reset the transform, 0 the scale. If you stretch it, we don't need to stretch it. Move the pivot, etc, etc. Save the scene. Yeah, crazy. Just Control S or File, Save, and it saved the scene. Okay, awesome. We have the tower. It's doing absolutely nothing. It's totally okay. Now let's just go back to what it was describing us when I initially asked it to actually do the tower that shoots and make all this. Okay, so the first step, make a tower, literally anything, a cube, a cylinder. We already did that. Add a script to it. It will create something. If you still have the what? I don't have any projectiles. It's already making me do some projectiles. This might be a bit complicated if you are completely new to this. This is a simple script though, and it's very isolated. It's very modular. It doesn't impact a lot of systems. It doesn't do a lot of stuff. In cases like this, copy pasting the entire thing and just testing it out is completely fine. You will definitely learn something by doing that. The first thing that I've seem to, I don't know, ask myself about how to do is how to actually build a script and where to actually save it. And again, I want to see what it can give me in terms of best practices and all the good things that I can do to make my life easier. Okay, you gave me a script. What do I do with it? A lot of questions marks. It helps, maybe, I don't know. What are the best practices when creating a script and adding it to my project? Yeah, I got the script and now I have no idea what to do with it. Put your scripts in a folder, create assets / scripts. Yeah, okay, I don't really want to do that because the way I usually try to organize my projects is to have a specific folder that has all the elements that I create for that project. So let's just make like a folder that's called core, and inside this folder I will organize everything that I will build for this game, such as doing something that is called scripts. And I also want to move the scenes folder. Yeah, like I have the core and everything is organized neatly here, and the scenes always rename the default scene. I've had so many times when I actually overwrote the sample scene just because I was copy pasting things around, or I was just moving things, and I can just do this, like say it's game, and this is the main game. This is the game that we will be playing. Okay, back to my scripts folder. Okay, we need to name the script something sane. Unity links class name and file name. Again, it doesn't explain here what exactly those are and how it's linking them. The idea is that I'm not gonna ask it all the stupid questions. Some of the things you're better off figuring out the hard way, just by doing stuff in programming and gaining all that experience. I will just point out if there's something that is like completely obvious and like ludicrous. And in this case, whenever you are creating a new script, basically the most important thing to do is to have the class name the same as the file name. It's not vital. There are situations in which this can be different, but just keep it the same. It will make your life a lot easier. Okay, so let's create like a new scripting mono behavior. Let me see if it actually gave me this detail. Right click, create C# script. No, that's not really what I needed, but thank you very much. Do we even have a C# script? Okay, hold on, it's compiling. Okay, so unfortunately ChatGPT can add false details. It can add whatever it needs to just to make you feel better to use it. So that's its main purpose. I think that's its main directive. If we don't have programming experience, how can we know when ChatGPT is making a mistake? Yeah, that is a very good question. You will not know when ChatGPT is making a mistake. The same way when I was learning programming, when I started out 10 years ago, the main way and what I was doing with my colleagues and what we are all doing today, basically, go on Google and search stuff, and like, I don't know, the Unity collider C# detection, and one of the two most important things are the Stack Overflow and Unity forums. And what we did back then was to just go through Google and search through all those things. We would find some solutions and we'll just copy paste the code. Mostly if we had like an entire class like ChatGPT gives us, copy paste the code, put it in the editor, run the game, run the editor, run whatever we had. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work, sometimes it completely froze our computers and we had to restart everything. The point here being that this is the process of learning programming. This is part of the process. Like, you're going to want to experiment stuff. And by experimenting and trying to understand all the things that happen within that script, and yeah, I know that maybe this is not the easy solution that everybody is looking for. Like everybody just wants to copy paste and okay, I want this, give me this, and I will just put it in my game and everything is fine. But yeah, if you're maybe extremely lucky, it might work like that. But if you want to actually do something more complex and to make sure that it works fine, you're better off to just take it step by step and understand what's happening. So yeah, hopefully I did explain at least partially what you were interested in. And I will go through the script that it's giving me, because assuming I'm a total beginner, I have no idea what just happened with the script. And if we are going to just put it in now, just open the script and paste it, and it will not work because we don't have all the components. I'm not sure if it told me about all the components. But yeah, basically this is it's a trial and error, the entire programming thing. Sometimes it's bad even with documentation, because you don't have specific examples and everything is quite vague, and you just put things in the editor, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And this is another thing that just happens weirdly. Like Visual Studio just opens up, but it doesn't have the script inside. And okay, I need to open it again. Okay, I no longer have this copied. This can get tedious if you're trying to do a lot of things at once in a single chat and not know where they end and where they begin. Okay, we just copy pasted our first script. Yay, we're programmers, we're game developers. No idea what half of this do. Half of this are actually not written quite well. I would say I wouldn't have done this, but okay, let's just go with it and see what happens. Because we're off to an awful start, but we're just going to clean up stuff step by step and just take it easy. Just don't get mad at AI. It's not its fault. Okay, just breathe easily, take a sip of water. It was telling us to add it to the tower, as I remember. You can add the script multiple times. I'm not gonna waste time asking GPT for every simple instruction, but you can just drag and drop it or add it with add it by searching it. Every script is another component that you can use. This is what is so cool about I mean, I don't want to say Unity because it's not just Unity, game development in general. It has all these minor components that it's using. So we have projectile prefab, shooting point. Just to prove a point, I run this, I don't follow all the instructions, I don't read everything it tells me. It gives me an error immediately, which doesn't stop. And it tells me that the variable has not been assigned. I can just like make ChatGPT completely crazy at this point, but like asking it for why the error happened, but it will only end up making me crazier. So let's just not do that for now. Yeah, so we have taken the script. You still have to set projectile prefab and shooting point in the inspector because Unity refuses to read your mind. I do not accept that. Make your projectile. A lot of missing steps. But yeah, but that's okay. Let's just ask it for more details. See where this is going. This is not, as I was saying earlier when I first started the stream, this is about learning how to actually learn with ChatGPT, not to learn to just use it. So I need to set this. IDK how to set this. What am I supposed to do? It might work better if I don't use so many words. I just like to start fighting with it because yeah, it does relax me. Thank you. It's relaxing to sometimes scream at an inanimate object, and I don't have a stress ball around, so ChatGPT will just do it. Select your tower, select the hierarchy. You see the script, 2 empty fields. Okay, so it's telling me that I need to look at this, and I need to look at the script and look at these two things right here. This is why I'm getting all the errors, because I have something that doesn't exist. They're waiting you to start filling them. I'm going to fill those. How to set the projectile prefab. Okay. The first step is to set the projectile. Create a sphere. Rename it projectile. Turn it into a prefab. 3D object. I hope I just fix everything before I advance too fast and everything just goes too crazy. What was I doing? I was doing bullets, right? Bullet. Okay, let's try to use the reset. I think the reset also resets like everything. Let me check. Yeah, it resets everything. So if you want to reset only the position, then you do that manually. Reset door, reset property, just the property that you want to be reset. Okay, I did what you told me. I built the sphere. Okay, it's not bullet, it's projectile. I am trying to keep the naming similar just so I don't confuse myself, because I might get to a point where I'm having one naming convention in Unity, I'm having another in ChatGPT, and I don't know which is which anymore. Turn it into a prefab. Drag the projectile into the project window. Poof, it becomes a prefab. Very advanced. Thank you. I'm already feeling very smart. So I have the hierarchy, I have the project window, I have the folder where I'm saving everything, and it tells me to drag it from here to here. What it doesn't tell me is what a prefab is. But let's do step C first. Just assign the prefab from the project window into the projectile prefab slot in the inspector. It's giving me all the steps, and this is what I like. It didn't tell me that it's from the tower, but yeah, okay, we can deal with that. So assign the prefab from the project window to this field right here, and don't forget to save. Control S. Always use Control S. It's nice to have. So what I would have liked it to go into further. What is a prefab? And really, I want to encourage you not to just skip through the steps. Like, yeah, okay, I'm doing this and it works, and that's completely fine until one point when it no longer works and you're starting to ask why, and you don't know which part of the entire system broke. So let's try to understand everything step by step. Yeah, let's slow down. That's exactly what I'm looking forward to. Prefab is a template, okay? Instead of building something like a primitive, you create something that is more complex, turn it into a prefab, the template, and then you spawn it. What is spawning? Okay, I think that's self-explanatory. Step by step. Yeah, I already did that step by step. Best practices. Okay, this is nice. Only make a prefab after it's set up correctly. Well, yes, maybe, not really. I don't always do that. I just make the prefab because I want to use it in the game. I want to test it out, and then just start setting things up because I want to build things more thoroughly. Keep prefabs organized in folders. Yeah, okay, that sounds perfectly fine. Don't make everything a prefab unnecessarily. Make most of the objects prefabs. It's going to save your life when things are prefabs because you are splitting everything into multiple components and multiple people can work on individual components. This is another thing that I don't necessarily agree with what it's giving me. I could maybe start debating it, but I feel that I might get into too much complexity and we are just going to like create a tower that shoots, and yeah, maybe do that tonight. If you want, I can write a super simple prefab setup. No, I don't really want that. I already have part of what I need. Okay. We set up the tower, we set up the projectile. I no longer need this in the scene. I can double click, open the projectile in case I need to configure anything else. And I have the tower, I have the projectile. It's not going to work. I hope it's not going to work. Unassigned reference. Okay, I'm getting another error because of course I have this another thing that has not been assigned, and it's the shooting point. And if I can actually find the steps that it was giving me, which, let's say that the conversation is so big I lost all the steps. There is a lot of information in the chat that ChatGPT gives me, and at one point I might actually miss a whole lot of it, so don't really get too attached to stuff. Just let it go. And let's start from this point and let's ask it why. Okay, if I can actually highlight this, why I'm actually getting this error. This does not work. I'm getting the following error. Why? Angry question marks. Rookie trap. Yes. Unity is yelling at me. Shooting point. Variable in your simple shooter script. Unity doesn't know which point in your scene to use as spawning bullets. Create a shooting point. Right click in your tower, in the hierarchy, create empty. Okay, giving me all the steps. Nice, I like that. It's making my my job easier. Don't have to explain everything. Rename it to shooting point. not this one, this one. Optional, but helps. Not that optional, I would suggest. If you just have everything in your project named generically, you're never going to find anything. Move it to where the bullets should appear. Probably at the tip of your tower. Assign it in the inspector. Okay, test it. Play the scene. Okay. This, I have the shooting point. And the shooting point, I would like this to be visible though, and I'm not just going to ask it for more stuff. I will just create a cube, and the cube should be like the head of the tower, and the head of the tower should be like this is the part where it's shooting from. Like maybe imagine you have like some sniper dudes here that are waiting for enemies and shooting at them. And now you're just trying to align the shooting point with the head. You could try to parent it and say, okay, I want to parent it at 0, 0, 0. But it might not put it in the position you'd like, because it's going to put it in the middle and it's going to distort the scale. So yeah, it's better to keep things separate. Like I have the geometry of the object and the point for functionality separate. To make my life easier, I can actually go into the isometric mode and move around like the perspectives, just so I can align it like this. Okay, and it looks fine. Let's move it a bit outside, just to avoid any potential problems with collisions and stuff. We will deal with everything at the right time, but yeah, let's just take it easy. I do want to clear everything from the console. Okay, and wow, nothing is happening because I had another script, yeah, at one point. Yeah, it was another thing. It was telling me if you skip this step, Winity will throw the exact same error every single time. Yeah, it's broken. It's something that's missing, that wasn't there. The other thing that was happening was having the projectile move. This was the actually the second script. So yeah, the projectile should forward depending on the rotation, blah blah blah, etc. Okay, let's do this and create, just like we have already learned, because we already created the script and now we're going to create another script. Right, it was telling me earlier to create an empty C# script, right? Yeah, okay, I guess that could have worked. It's the same thing, because using the mono behavior template gives me like this boilerplate code where it's the mono behavior and it has some methods inside. But just because ChatGPT is also giving me all the codes, then I don't need a starting point. This is perfectly fine. Okay, it seems to work, this whole copy pasting. Compiling the scripts. And something should happen, something different than before. No, nothing. Okay, let's see. I mean, I can pretty much figure out why nothing happened. The question here is, can I use ChatGPT to figure out if I didn't actually realize? So let's try this. I created a new script and added the code, but the projectiles are not moving. What is going on? Okay, now is the fun part. Bullets are moving because vector feed forward in translate is not what you think. This is the #1 trap for beginners. And why did you give me that if it's a trap? Oh my god. And it's not even giving me the correct solution. This is like crazy. Because okay, the solution is that I didn't add the script to the object. And like all I had to do is this. And it should be working now. But yeah, I guess it likes more conspiracies. And this is something that it does. It like, I asked it about its own code and it tells me that, yeah, okay, that is a trap, that it was something that is wrong, that wasn't supposed to be done like that, and so on. And yeah, we have something that is shooting. I do want it to shoot another way. I was just thinking, how much do I want to complicate my life? But let's just keep it simple for now, because we do have some stuff that we do need to fix. Yeah, and I will just abandon this chat because it's giving me enough illusions for now. Delusions. And what I want to do is start with this, just out of curiosity, to see if it can go through the best practices and coding standards. I have the following Unity script. It's not up to the coding standards. Please make it so it respects C# Unity best practices. Some of the things are okay, some of the things aren't. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do here. The script is lovely bare bones. I mean, you gave me the script. You're just making fun of yourself at this point. Okay, changes, improvements. Good. So yeah, this is a bit more acceptable. I'm not going to just copy paste the entire script, because we might not need it. It's changed the implementation at this point because it's no longer using the transform the position of the game object. It's using physics. This is purely a choice of what we are going to end up building. Maybe the physics based tower defense might be more fun. This is a game design choice, but I do want to figure out the best practices that it gave me and apply them on the script that I already have. And let's just go really quickly through all of them. So, public fields without serialized field, exposing everything publicly is sloppy. Public fields, what is a field? Fields are those things that we have inside the class that we have. You need to be patient. I'll drink some more water, tea to increase my patience. Yeah. And it also needs to be patient with me. Yeah, the fields from the class, you usually want to expose things to the inspector but keep them private. Why do we want to do that? I don't really think it's too complicated to go through everything right now. But yes, it is right about keeping everything private and using serialized fields to access stuff. And if we're actually looking inside the script, we can see that it gave me some nice stuff that I can add. And I will just replace the float I had previously with the float that is giving me now. We have a header, which is like an entire section in the inspector. We have the serialized field, which means that I can access this in the inspector and I can change it there. And we have the tooltip, which explains speed specifically. And once I save this was like the simple projectile. Okay. Once I save this and find my projectile prefab, we have the projectile settings. This was the header that we had here. We had the speed. Once I hover over the speed, it's going to give me that small tooltip. I had the impression that it also gave me, no, just this. Okay. And this doesn't change functionality at all. It just helps me understand what is going on, and not just me but everybody else that is working on the project. Just going to do the exact same thing. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else. There is something that it's using here, but it's not very consistent. Let's go through this first. Magic numbers. Magic numbers are numbers that appear for no reason, for no explanation. It's just sitting there. Fine for testing, but not professional. Not much to do in this case. We change the number anyway in the inspector. I put the speed here. Using update for movement. Physics-based movement needs to be more precise, which it is completely correct. I wasn't using physics at this point, so this implementation is also correct. It's also perfectly fine. What most people might be doing is to also add a private in front of the update, because that is there by default, but some projects, some teams like to use it specifically. No comments or XML documentation. Yeah, if this were production code, everyone would hate me. I mean, it's not even trying to be mean here, it's actually a simple statement. This is documentation, by the way. These 3 slashes you see in front of the class, in front of methods. Documentation basically explains the code. It's not something that it's executed, but it's something that might be generated with the documentation. Like, for example, if I search Unity Canvas docs, we get the entire scripting API, and we get a list of all the members, methods, etc., and description for each of them. This is basically part of it generated automatically just by doing these things. I don't think I generated documentation from Unity, C#, but I worked with Java in the past, and this is what was going on. Anyway, going back to this. No comments. Okay, I added the comments. Direction is hard-coded. Vector free forward assumes the projectile's forward is always correct. So what this means, yeah, and I told myself that I would not make things hard for me, but let's make them hard anyway. What this means is that I basically have the tower that I want to be oriented like this, that I wanted to shoot in this direction, and now when I hit play, that's not going to happen because the bullets have the instruction to go in another direction. So yeah, you have this really weird, wacky looking thing when the tower is looking one way and the boss, the projectile is just going another way. Okay, and so it tells me that vector free forward assumes the projectile forward, but it doesn't fix it. I mean, it would have been nice to fix that too. Added comments, hard-coded for a vector still there. Why? Why did you not fix this too? How do I fix this? I mean, if you're going to tell me that something is wrong, you might as well give me the right thing to do. Okay, so now it's giving me like 3 options. Add a direction vector, which I can configure it in whichever way. Spawn, initialize the projectiles. So yeah, okay, so basically have a separate direction configuration. When I spawn them inside the tower script, just set the custom direction. Rotate the projectile to face the movement. Okay. This is nice, but it's a bit complicated for what I'm trying to do. Let's try to... yeah, I'm going to do something really bad. New vector free 0 1 0, because we have vector free that forward, which is like something predefined that it's telling Unity you're going forward, whatever that means for you. But if we have a vector free, then we can have any vector, and any vector actually has those three components, which x, y, and z represents the direction in which I'm going. And one important thing, whenever you write the code, just Control K and D to automatically align everything. Control plus K plus D. I always insist on stuff like this, and it's not something that GPT might actually tell you. Maybe if you ask it like some general advice on best practices, normally I would ask, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, just take a second and think about this, how the balls, the projectiles are going to behave. And once you took your guess, just look here and see that they actually go up. And they go up because the y is set to 1. And we can go something totally experimental here, because if we have no idea what forward is, what sideways is, then we can just take each of those values and test them out and see what happens. And it's again compiling. They will move on. Yes, perfectly. They will move on the y-axis. I think there is a delay between me talking and people replying, so you get a good point. Okay. So basically what was happening, the forward axis was actually the z-axis. The x-axis, I think it was called, I hope I'm not mistaken, vector 3 dot, yeah, we have both left and right. So yeah, we can actually configure this to be left 1 or right -1 and so on. We don't need to get more into that configuration. We can just use it like this and make it start from the shooting point. Okay, so I did change everything that I wanted to change, but now I'm just curious, because it did build me this entire script and it does seem quite foolproof. Maybe I don't see any major issues. Hopefully it just changes the velocity and it looks fine, honestly. Okay, let's just try it out and see what happens. Oh, and what happens, we're getting a bunch of warnings here that it's using stuff that it's obsolete, and that's perfectly fine. It might still somewhat work. And the engine twice. Just look around the script, make sure you clean it up, make sure it looks okay, whatever you're using. No, I do not want to check those. It was asking me about the deprecated stuff that it gave me. I just want to leave them there for now. I think it's going to be an interesting design decision to have everything move as rigid bodies. Yeah, this is already paying off nicely. Because whenever you have weird stuff happening inside the game, You can just, I don't know, make it more appealing to social media and to people. But yeah, here we might have the same issue that we had before, because we are using the forward, and we actually modified this to go to sideways. Let's just put everything back the way it was. No, I do not want to change the deprecated methods. Yeah, and notice the interesting part, how ChatGPT, how its answers actually impact design decisions that I wasn't planning on making. Okay, so we're having this here. We can actually round this just for absolutely no reason. I usually like to round the stuff up. Shooting point, move the shooting point here, and if we are actually putting the shooting point inside the tower, and we are going to have the projectiles have various conflicts, collision conflicts with said tower. Well, yeah, I would say that it's looking promising. And one thing that I might need to do just to wrap up with the script, start asking ChatGPT questions, but I guess that I think it already told me that it's moving to a physics-based implementation. Like, where was it? Yeah, using update for movement, and then it's using fixed update for physics movement, because, well, let's try this. Why was the difference between update and fixed update? Okay, classic Unity trap. Yeah, it is a classic Unity trap. They're very different. So fixed update, it runs like always the same amount of times. Yeah, like if you keep your projectile moving in update, it might pericate 60 fps, because you need the calculations to run on predictable intervals. If you are using update, it's going to try to update as fast as possible based on your system. And if you have a very weak system, then it's going to take a lot more time. Fixed update somehow forces those updates to happen at exact intervals, and when it's doing physics calculations, then it stays consistent. And I'm guessing that this is everything that it explains here. Physics calculations, bad for input handling. Bad for input handling because you want the input to react as fast as possible, and you don't need fixed updates for that. And update bad for physics because physics simulation runs on a fixed time step. Yeah, it basically this is the difference between the two of them. Okay, so we've set up the projectile, and I just want to check. Yeah, taking this code step by step might not be very difficult to explain. This is a rigid body, which basically you're telling Unity we're using physics, then a require component, I'm trying to figure out added require component type of rigid body for safety. Doesn't really explain what happens here. Require component means that whenever you're using something, it forces that requirement to also be used. Would be one of the things. Cached rigid body reference in awake. What is a cached reference? Well, caching the reference basically means this. Like you have the physics and you're telling it, okay, it's actually the physics of the component because everything needs to be connected and nothing is connected automatically. There needs to be some way somewhere, somehow to connect it. This is a simple check. Like if it doesn't exist, just output an error. And yeah, this is all the things that I'm explaining right now are things that you just put them through ChatGPT and okay, I want more details. Tell me what is this and what am I doing? What is this? What am I doing with it? And what is going on in Awake? Okay, we're getting to the part you're actually misunderstanding. It's just a variable declaration. And yeah, it's giving me all the elements that that come into that. Why we are doing it? Okay, looks nicely. And yeah, just like I have been saying for the past hour or so, if there's something that you are not familiar with, just ask for more details. If you don't seem to understand, like there might be some concepts harder to wrap your head around, just skip them because you might run into those concepts or into something similar later on, and when you do that, then you're going to understand it. Or maybe further along the line when you have a lot more experience. Do not panic if you don't completely comprehend something, but do ask for more details whenever you can, just to make sure you grasp the concepts. What is happening here? I will skip it for now. And there's another thing that it does with these two lines of code that I'm not very convinced about, because if you're looking at the what was that, the C# standard, you will notice that here it used an underscore and here it didn't. So my question is why the difference in underscore in these two variables? Why using one and not the other? Yeah, naming conventions. The naming conventions can get quite tricky because each project might be different and you might need to adapt to those. There is such a thing as Unity C# standard. They have some guidelines that basically you can use. And yeah, this is completely 100% accurate. Unity developers fight over it like it's religion. And you will come across that. So try try to see what is done in the project and keep it the same style. So for rigid body, private fields, reference components, and different from other variables. Like, this is part of the entire class and it's going to be accessed in the entire script. Like, you see it here and you automatically know that it's not the new speed that is just locally or something else. You know that is something universal for the entire script. This is easily to read, to just catch with your eyes. Speed no underscore because it's a simple value type and less often considered less confusing, so people skip it. Some people use for all private fields, some only for things like components or injected objects. It's just a style. And yeah, I like the example that it gives here because when you assign the speeds, you actually know which speed is which. So like, for example, in this scenario right here, yeah, this is why people spend like hours, days trying to figure out simple stuff like this, because yeah, it might be crazy for some people, but yeah, this is programming. What I want to do here, because I can just go like put an underscore in front of speed in the entire script, but I can just right click and rename and do this. And now whenever I see something with underscore in front of it, I know it's part of the entire script and I can access it everywhere. Because if I have the new speed here and I'm trying to say like new speed equals 10 or whatever, the new speed here is just here, it's not anywhere else. And you can even see the colors are different. Like the speed here is white, yellow. I think I have a blue filter on my laptop, so I don't see it very well. I guess white. And this other one is blue. It's inside the method. And it can only be used here. New speed doesn't exist outside the method. Yeah, so this is basically the naming convention, and I see that it's doing a decent job explaining this too. I don't really have any major objections, so to speak. Okay, I would say that I am satisfied with the way the script is looking. The simple shooter, on the other hand, is a similar mess to what simple projectile was. I do want to go through something more important, because scripting is working, everything is fine, it's decent for now. We'll go later on and maybe optimize some more stuff, maybe ask GPT to rewrite it again to make it better like it did with the other script. I just want to make sure the game is still working, and I'm having the projectiles spawn again. I do want to create multiple towers, and I do want the tower to also be a prefab. But the main problem that I'm having with it is the structure. How do I put this simply? It's kind of a mess, and this is what GPT actually told me step by step to go through. I'm not sure what to ask it to make things better, to be honest. But let's try. Let's see what happens. And let's use a new chat. I always like to use new chats because If it has too much information, it starts getting confused. And oh, I've hit my free plan. Yeah, it's okay. I will call it a night quite soon. I don't need much more information from you. I'm working in Unity. Let's try this. I am building a tower defense game. Defense. It's not necessary to bother correcting all your spelling errors. It's just going to read out of context. It's going to be fine. I am building a tower. Right now I have a parent which is tower which contains the mesh and collider and the logic script. I am currently describing everything that's going on in my tower. I have this main object, the parent, and it has the mesh, collider and script. This is the logic of everything. Then two children. One is the shooting point. The other is, what was the other one? The head. Okay, is a mesh for the head. I need to optimize, clean, improve and make better overall. This is where prompting starts getting interesting, because you're trying to give GPT, AI, whoever you're talking to, you're trying to give them as much context as possible. You're trying to explain as many things as possible. I've seen some people do this with screenshots, like effectively screenshotting the entire Unity, the entire scene interface, and putting into ChatGPT and asking it to explain stuff. I have 3 different objects. I will need to screenshot them separately, whichever is faster for you. And it might not recognize, I don't trust it's always recognizing stuff. And another problem is there is a limit for uploading files. So yeah, describing the problem might be simpler. But overall, and one thing that I always like to use, Unity 6.2. Yeah, I don't think there is something new in Unity 6 that revolutionizes the entire hierarchy and those components. But generally, using the context, it's giving it as much context as possible. 6.2, where I pretend this is new tech. Yeah. Let's break down. Right now you have, yeah, it misunderstood what I told him. This is also an important point to make. Just make sure you explain things right. Like, I have a parent which is a tower which contains the mesh. Yeah, I didn't tell it it's children. I don't know how I could have said this. Like, specifically say it has those components, maybe. Anyway, problems with the setup. Let's see what problems it found. Something that's fine for small prototypes correctly, but it couples your logic to the transform hierarchy. Okay. Yeah, basically it's everything is just so coupled right now and so all over the place. if you actually go into the tower and want to change something, it's going to be a headache. Two separate children, head mesh, is it okay? Mesh collider, mixes responsibility, physics, visuals, logic are in one place. Naming convention. Yeah, okay. Okay, nice. So we have the tower base, the base mesh, the collider, the tower head, the head mesh, and the shooting point. Script separation. This is another thing that maybe we're going to do next time. Have that script and separate it into smaller components, because this is actually really handy to have. Avoids hardcore transforms, okay, optimization, etc, etc. Keep collider simple, naming consistency, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to need it to rewrite the entire tower. One thing I might not agree with it completely. The head mesh and the base mesh are separate. This could be coupled together, because you might have instances where your game is using a single mesh for the tower, and that mesh is actually created in Blender to have like a tower for a head or an opening or something, and you cannot really decouple those. So yeah, it's actually doing pretty fine for the most part. Tower base, there's one thing, well, I don't have a rigid body, I think. The capsule collider, because if I had a rigid body, then it might have to stay on the top of the hierarchy, on the main parent. Anyway, let's just rebuild this from scratch, because it's easier than to just modify that object. Base tower, and I'll make it as base tower. I'll reset the position to 0, 0, move the old tower a bit. Inside the base tower, let's create the root first, which is going to be the base of all the components that I'm going to have inside the object. Inside the root, we're going to have the mesh. Inside the mesh, we are going to have the cylinder. And notice here that everything is at 0, 0, 0, because this is just easier. Like if I had the mesh over here and the root over here, and then you have the cylinder over here, and then I'm trying to do some sort of animation where I'm just using everything and putting everything together, and one is at -5, another is at -10, you're going to have like a solar system where planets are spinning around each other and nothing is actually cohesive. So yeah, let's keep everything at 0, 0, 0. And let's check if that is the case. Good, so I have the mesh, I have the cylinder, let's say tower base, and then I'm building another 3D object, which is a cube, which is the head, from where it's shooting. The head is actually the only thing that is allowed to have other values, I don't want it to sound that dramatic loud, because you are allowed to do everything, but in this case you are not going to be able to set it up any other way, so you're going to have to just have different values than the default here, because you're building a custom component at this point. So we have the mesh that is done with. I can just come in and replace it with another mesh, and it will create something else. What I don't like is that the collision is also here, so I'm just going to remove all the colliders. Okay, and now it's completely just graphics. It is completely separate from whatever else we are doing in the other part of the object. And then I want to build the collider, and to add a box collider will actually be better than a capsule collider, because that is not very stable. A box collider can just sit on plain spaces. Capsule collider, if you're starting to play around with physics, is just going to fall around. Do not do this. Do not use the mesh collider. The mesh collider takes too much performance. You do not need the mesh collider most of the times. I just enabled the gizmos because I wanted to see how it's creating it. It doesn't even want to work. Okay. Mesh. Oh yeah, it doesn't work because it needs to be on the same component as the mesh to actually read how the mesh is created. Yeah, let's just stick with the box. Edit the box. Yeah, this is if you want to manually edit the box, but you can just easily go through this. The fun part is that we might not even need colliders for the towers, unless we want them to be destroyed maybe. So then we'll just have them like this. 1, 1 and 2 should be fine. Okay, and we are almost having what we had before, except we are missing the shooting point and the simple shooter. The logic script is generally okay if it stays on the top object, because that is going to be the thing that you're going to look for most of the times. So simple shooter. I just wanted to check what GPT was telling me to do, just out of curiosity. The tower base collider and the script. Okay, so it was telling me to put the script on the main object. Okay, so I did that. Yeah, that is a good idea. And I also need one more empty object, shooting point. Of course, if you're having more things inside your object, if you have objects that are more complicated, more complex, you can actually create an entire hierarchy of objects. like not just have the mesh grouped for two things, grouping things all together. So I'm getting the shooting point, I'm connecting everything, and let's test it out. And this should be working. It should be working like the towers that were working before. Okay, we have something. There are a lot of things happening around. But yeah, also I no longer want the old towers. Just get rid of them. And this is one of the instances where the thing that I have just built can become a prefab. So I'll just end up saving that as a prefab. We have the tower, we have it shooting. The game view is currently off. It's totally not showing it correctly. The first thing I want to do is to save the base tower as a prefab, then maybe rotate it just a bit and create multiple towers. And once I have that set up, slightly better, not the best view, but anyway, we managed to do something working, and we managed to use GPT, and we also managed to actually get in-depth information about how everything is going. Well, I would say if you do have any further questions, just let me know. I do want to invite you to follow me on Discord. Join the channel for whichever updates I will set up next. I will put the link in the description. I'm not sure if I did that. I can just check really quick. And sure, if you are curious, if you have another workflow, if you have other tools that you might be interested in using, it would always be nice to find out about them. Okay, and let's see. Yeah, link in the description. Okay, and thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight as we are slowly building this game that I'm not really sure what it is supposed to be. Yeah, I added the link in the description, and join me next week when we're going to try to create some interaction with enemies and fix some more stuff on what's going on. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.